And this track, we don't have a bass line because basically the 808 long is the one that does the bass line for us.
So you're not sidechaining the kick to the 808 at all, huh?
No, not in this case because I have completely different tracks for those.
Right.
If I had to, if I had a kick and an 808 that was, if we take a look, if it was like competing for the same frequency range and the same attack, like the initial transient, I would probably do that. But in this case, I don't need it because we tailored the long 808 so that it goes with the kicker as one. You know, we treat them as one at this point. And we have a couple. Well, let's listen to in context here. Even going from the short 808. Okay, so the different. It doesn't stop. The different mid in the click, in the attack, in the initial transient of the two 808 short being one track and these two being the other track, is what changes the tone and tells the listener, hey, we are in the chorus, hey, we are in the verse. But the bottom end is kind of the same, as the same colors, the same tone. You see, I'm also using my SSL as gain staging. This is probably something we should have talked about it earlier. When you start the mix, in order to set up your 2-bus, as one of you asked me at the beginning, if I set my 2-bus and if I mix into it. Yes, and the way you do it, so what you want to do when you start your mix is you put all your faders at 0. See, the drums are unity? All the faders at 0. You set up your compressor on the 2-bus, you play the rhythmic section. Actually, I played the whole song, but that's a little bit tricky. You might want to get there with time. And with all faders at 0, all the tracks playing, you set up your 2-bus. Meaning, the first thing that you need to make sure when you start the mix is when all the tracks are playing and your faders are at 0, you're not clipping. You're not even close to clip on your 2-bus. You want to have something like 18 dB of headroom with all the faders at 0. So what if when you put your faders at 0 and you play the track and you have no plugins, nothing on your tracks, you're already -2 or clipping? That's when gain staging happens. That's why you need to gain stage first. That's why you use the SSL channel. Because you don't touch the faders, you don't do gain staging with the faders. And I hate people that, well, I don't like it when people does gain staging with the clip gain. Because clip gain is supposed to be used for clip parts. So if a vocals has, a bigger, like a chorus like this big and a pre-chorus like this big, that's why you use clip gain for. You know what I'm talking about for by clip gain?
Yeah. I mean, I do that. So what's wrong with doing that?
So there's technically nothing wrong with it, but if you have to use clip gain later on in the mix to reduce the differences between one section and the other, it's kind of fucked up, because if your gain staging should come first, and should come first for 2 reasons. One, because it should be set and forget. So you don't go and retouch your gain clip later because there's differences. And second, because this way you can see where your level for each track is. I'm hitting green, I'm in the green, and I know, for example, on this kick right after I have a lo-fi. If I hit it this hard, it's gonna crap out. It's gonna do this. Because I'm hitting the next plugin at a higher level. And if you do that with clip gain, it's like you basically have in one track, if you have like 5, 6 different clip gains, you're gonna go crazy because every part is gonna hit the next plugin at a different level. Make sense? So you want to set up your gain staging with an input level in this case, I use the SSL, but you can use anything. You can use a trim plugin. Yeah. Okay, so that is static. There will never be, once you set up that gain before your chain on your insert, there'll never be one section which is fucked up. And if it's fucked up, that's when you use clip gain. Okay, if let's say we go to a vocal, it doesn't happen that often in hip hop, but we'll see in the rock mixes like crazy. Because guitars and bass and stuff like that, they're all over the place. They're not samples. They're real people playing. So that is when, like, for example, if this one, I want, this is something that we use clip gain for.
Yeah.
Yeah? You do this, and you know, let's put it back where the rest is. But your gain staging is up here. So you don't have to worry about how hard you're gonna hit the limiter.
So basically it kind of just, it affects your signal level going into your signal chain that you've already
Exactly.
Okay.
See, and by doing this before, that's how you set up your two bus. Because as we said, it's like when all the figures that are 0, you play your mix, then you know where you hit your two bus, at what level. In this case, let me see if we can see. For example, see how shitty now sounds this part? Because I removed the SSL, and so I'm hitting the saturators at 10 dB higher. Because my SSL are both -10 to hit the right, to start with the right gain staging. If I don't have that, these 3 saturators here are crapping out. The kick is crapping out because I'm hitting this too hard. Oh, sorry, this one too hard. Gain staging okay. There you go. Okay, so that is vital. First thing to do in a mix, you put your faders at 0, click play in the where everything is playing, in the more intense part of the song, and check your two bus. How much headroom do you have? 2 dB? That's not near close enough headroom. Drop everything down 10 dB. Have 12, 16, 18 dB of headroom. Not only because it will give you space for if you move the stuff, but because the analog-based plugins are usually calibrated at -18 dB SF, 18 dB, so they are calibrated to emulate the real hardware. The real hardware has that sweet spot, it's -18 dB. So you want to hit them, if you hit them at unity, you know, without guessing level, if you hit them at 0 and you're correct gain staging, you know you're hitting them like the right place. Okay? It's actually louder without. So I can really gauge it. Sounds better in the mix or just louder? Because if I boost it or non-compensate, oh, it's better. Yeah, it's louder. Of course it's better. This one I added because we talked about it. This is my rock influence in hip hop. For me, these two together, they just don't hit hard enough. Because they both flat. And I come from rock, and for me the snare has to hit you in the face. Has to hit you in the face. And so I added, with Superior Drummer 3, a side stick to it. Most basic thing. Same thing with the compressor not hitting that hard, and basic EQ, just cut the low end. There's literally nothing below that, it makes no difference cutting it that high. But yeah, just because I just, for peace of mind, I wanted that really, really cut sound. So all the kick and snares. The 3 snares, there's one of my yellow buses. Go to the snare out, this is an aux track. Their output goes here, and that's nothing in here. It's just that's general EQ. Opens up a lot. There's nothing else. So one of the main reasons is because I can deal with one fader a lot better than three. Just if I want the snare, that now is composed by 3 tracks, just one. And also because I can send it to reverbs and stereo effects, all 3 from one channel instead of doing 3 auxes. So this is just a snare reverse that I printed. So this is just the usual. I cut one piece, one hit of the snare, reverse it, added reverb, and just reverse it back. Just to name that track. So the snares go to their ambient. Let's see the snare verb first, which is the simple one. Hip hop, we don't really want reverby snares, but a little bit of that was, you know, useful here. One thing you notice is the pre-delay. The pre-delay, I don't know what the BPM here is, 138, but 99% is not by ear. I just actually calculated what it would be like 1/16th note and just added that. So we separate the reverb, which, you know, it takes away the snap, and we leave the dry snare right in your face, but we give it the tail. And being that low of a level, we don't hear the flat, we just hear the tail. Without it. Okay, it's just subtle, but it's there. And then hip hop is all about mono. Kick, snare, voice, vocals, bass. They're really just mono. It's rare. There's some stereo information on that, but I'm not a fan of that. And again, I come from rock, where everything is like so really spread out. So I just used the how's it called PS22 split, just to add, and these are coming from the stereo snare out, so the bus with all the 3 snares are output. Just to add a little bit of stereo field. If I exaggerate the volume, I can probably solo it. Where is that? Okay, yeah, no, it actually is. So this is the snare, the stereo. But the volume is of course really low, because again this is a stereo, a fake stereo, and the PS22 works with phase, so it's not like maybe we'll have phase problems. No, it is guaranteed, so you don't want to mess with the mono part. You want to make sure, when you're in doubt, you always monitor in mono. That's it. It takes anything away? Not really. Just a stereo tail. It's fine. That is important, of course, if we listen to our song on mono speakers, Bluetooth, phones, something like that. We need to make sure that all the main elements, so kick, snare, bass, at least one melody instruments, whether it's guitar, synth, and our lead vocals, are there. Not only are there, but the balance doesn't change too much, because the balance is going to change a little bit, but it cannot change so much that your mix sounds like completely like shit on a mono speakers, because the snare now is like 5 dB higher than the vocals, you know? The balance needs to be there in mono too. So we have 2 hats. This one, the darker one, and this one is brighter. Because they were both stereo and they were like one on top of the other, and I did want to keep them stereo because everything else was pretty much mono. That's what I did. I used the S1 to keep them stereo, but tilting the stereo image to one side and the other one to the other side, so that they just do the work for you. Because they have different patterns, they just pan part left and right by themselves, just tilt the image like that.
What's the advantage, maybe this is a new question, what's the advantage of doing that rather than just panning it a little bit?
The advantage is time.
Okay.
Because in Pro Tools you can, well, if you don't have to do automation like something like this, and you want just a static panning, then you know it's better to leave the pan as is, even because if you send them to some bus, it will keep the pan. But the actual track output has the stereo image tilted one way or the other. And it's also cool because you can automate these. So if you want to do something like that, you can. But yeah, it would technically be the same thing, it's just time. It's quicker to do it this way. Symbols, vocal samples, they're all pretty much bullshit. Let me see something about the pianos. We have 3 pianos. I want to say a couple of things about this. Aside from the static sound shaping and sound design, which is EQ again, you got my my way of starting every channel, and saturation. This does make a difference. Okay. But you're probably asking why the fuck is stuttering that much, and that's because it has this compressor triggered by the lead vocals on it. So the only thing that competes for the mid range in these songs with the vocals is the piano, because in there the whole time he's singing. So, but he's also the only instrument. We just have piano, drums, and vocals here, so it needs to be there somehow. That's the trick, because this is the piano that it plays basically the whole song. When I'm happy with the static sound of it, EQ-wise, saturation-wise, and dynamic-wise, as in the part itself, which is repetitive, so it doesn't really need that much in the way of dynamic control, the lead vocals is triggering this compressor. I assume everyone is familiar with sidechain, external sidechain compression, so this is exactly what it is. Let me solo the vocal, let me play the vocal, and it will make sense.
Go. She about to be the money on the back end. She be screaming, daddy, put me back in. I ain't got no time, this is back end. Girl, player, acting. Now you wanna see about the bird flow? You don't really know that I know. I ain't got no time for the game or the name. I'ma get it one down, photo, though. She about to be the money on the back end. She be screaming, daddy, put me back in. I ain't got no time, this is back end. Girl, player, acting.
Okay, this is just that simple. Of course, if you listen to the piano in solo, we will hear it stuttering, because the attack and release are pretty fast, especially the release, and you can hear it. We're compressing 3 dB. That's enough for the piano to get out of the way when it's singing, but it's still there. Basic EQ, just to add a little bit of high end to the piano. That's one of the main pianos. Then what we have. So that's the other piano we have. Oh.
Scary.
So we got basic EQ again. I spread the stereo image because, as you can hear, it goes left and right, it pans, and this basically helps enhancing what the next one is doing. So the A stereo control, which is a free plugin, if I spread the image at 200%, it just feeds a way wider signal into this, which is also phase based. The way it spreads the sound, it just makes it more obvious. It just makes it, you know, more wider and bigger. Again, how does it sound in mono? Like this. You know what I mean when I say balance? So if I mono my signal, this piano is not going to disappear. It's still going to be there. Of course it does not sound as pretty as in mono, because it's stereo. It's like the definition of stereo, the difference between left and right. But what you need to make sure is that it does not disappear when mono. Okay? That's it, and this is literally just the color. And something to pay attention to. I have it in completely independent mode, so left and right, because this is a stereo channel, and I'm feeding to this compressor a piano that is panning hard left and right. So if I don't unlink my channels, the stereo effect is gonna just cut in half. So I worked so hard to give him a very wide stereo image, and if I compress it linked, it will compress both sides at the same time. But I don't want that. I want it to keep it wide, so when the panning is on the left side, it compresses only the left side and leaves the right side alone. Other than that, is set to react to the higher note, because that's what the piano is playing. It gives me a better control. Fast, slow attack, because I don't need to chop off the initial transient of the piano. It's not what we want. And mostly is for the color, because me arranging this piano works really well. This is again triggered by the lead vocal, and it's really dirty. And this is interesting, actually. I cannot skip this. Basic EQ again. So this is the main feature of this piano. It has a pattern, but it's very weak. It feels, this is a sample, of course, it feels like the piano player was like tired. It didn't really feel like playing. So this is a pumper. This is, is used mostly in EDM to give the pumping effect like this, and set it in time, in time with the song, with the BPM, and using this really cut shape envelope. Now it hits. Now it's got the sounds that it didn't have before. It was like so soft. Smack attack to most likely enhance that. So without these two, we have a much weaker. Now we can recognize the pattern. Okay, set up the mode for the next part. All these piano go again on one of my yellow buses, aux buses, just to give it an overall glue to the 3 different samples. Let's pretend they were all cut on vinyl on tape, and that's what I did, just to add a little bit of grit to them. PX 160 is a very snappy compressor. It's often used on snares and kicks. So again, it's that pattern. If I can keep making it better, I will. So it's just, if you take a look at the above and below threshold, just that barely hits. In this case, it's also in MS mode. That's probably the only compressor that I have in mid-side. So because we have few elements in stereo, and I like that. Hip-hop is a lot about mono. Just ducking a little bit the mono part on this will change the stereo feel, and that will give us the impression that it is more stereo than it actually is.
I had a question on the stereo bus compressor. Are you setting your attacks and releases to the rhythm of the song at all, or how you at the beginning when you first set it?
Yeah, that's a good starting point.
Okay.
Not the attack really, because I often use compressors that don't have a
your SSL,
variable.
Your SSL.
Yeah.
Stereo bus.
Yeah, my SSL, my starting point is 10 ms all the time, and if I don't use that, I use 30. Never fast attack on my 2 bus compressors.
Do you set that up front, and do you see yourself? Do you change that as you're mixing, or is it pretty much you're good to go at that point?
I don't think very few times I went faster than 10 ms. If anything, I go slower. Very rarely I go faster than 10 ms. That's my starting point. Do I keep my mind open that I could possibly change? Yes.
Yeah.
Does it happen? Not really. I was saying before, I rather mix into it, as in, I would rather change single tracks before changing that. Because I know that is a setting that 99% of the time works. It worked for so many albums, if you think how many albums have been mixed without, with that compressor. So I rather, there's something that has to be wrong in my mix and not in the settings. So the part that we were talking about before, when it goes into the low range, that's what's automated. It's this piano.
You know that I know that it's ready to get on, talking that bullshit and you can't spit on. You don't wanna talk that long. Mr. Wrong, baby, I put on.
Wait, Mr. Wrong. I thought your name was Diesel.
Yeah, I'm the hood and I really do put on. Get that about it so you know it look good on. Wait, we gon' talk in the plug talk, crank the single. I'm bringing the lingo. You don't wanna back, I'ma bring it the single. So she in the back, she won't bring the lingo.
And that was what was automated. And that's pretty much it for this mix.
How long did it take you?
This one, couple of days. Couple of days, because I was also for the course, so I wanted to make sure like everything was, that something that only makes sense for me, were put in a way that makes sense for everybody. That opens up the Pro Tools session, and so yeah, a couple of days. Usually that's my time for a single. If it's a rock mix and it's an album, the first song might take 3 days, easy. Unless like they have stupid close deadlines. And then after the first 2 songs, if it's an album, usually rock they record the same drum kit, same guitars. It's a lot easier to transfer the session to the other songs. But the first one is one. It's like it's so important because